Welcome back to Fluent English, the podcast. I'm Georgia. Think in English.
And I'm Willem R. Today's episode is really exciting.
Welcome back to the deep dive. This is where we take a look at the common wisdom in different fields, communication, psychology, and really see if it holds up.
Exactly. And today, we're looking at something that affects millions of people.
Right. If you're learning a language or you know someone who is, you've probably hit this wall. Today, we are diving deep into the psychology of English fluency.
We are. And we're going beyond the usual metrics, things like vocabulary lists or complex grammar.
Yeah, the checklist.
The checklist, exactly. We're looking at the mental foundation you need to actually speak. Our source material today really argues one core idea. The biggest barrier isn't linguistic, it's psychological.
And we're really tackling this huge contradiction, this puzzle that so many learners face. Maybe you, if you're listening, are facing it right now. The idea is simple. We all know people who are, brilliant students of English. They've studied for years. They know thousands of advanced words, words like ephemeral or ubiquitous.
All the big ones. They have this huge academic knowledge base. But then you put them in a real conversation, maybe in a meeting, or just ordering coffee.
And they freeze.
They freeze.
Yeah.
They just seize up.
Yeah.
The words are in there somewhere, but they're trapped behind this mental wall.
Yeah.
Their speech is slow, hesitant. It just doesn't sound fluent.
Exactly. It's like they have all the bricks, but they can't build the house.
Right.
Now, you contrast that with someone else. Maybe this person has a simpler vocabulary, maybe just the most common 500, 800 words.
They stick to the basics.
But when this person speaks, it just flows. There's a natural rhythm, a clear voice. They sound confident.
Yes. They might even make a few small grammar mistakes, but you don't even notice because the communication is so seamless and powerful.
Yeah.
They just sound ready.
And the difference, which our sources make so clear, isn't about the size of their vocabulary.
Not at all.
It's the size of their confidence.
Our mission today is to show you why that confidence isn't just a nice-to-have skill. It's the absolute foundation of speaking. We're going to break down exactly why it's more powerful than words and how you can sound fluent even with a smaller vocabulary.
And this is such a valuable shift in perspective. If you're feeling just, overwhelmed by this constant pressure to learn 10 new words a day, this deep dive is a shortcut.
Yeah.
It helps you see the real mental roadblocks.
So you can stop focusing on just memorizing things and start focusing on what actually works.
Yeah.
Which is active, confident usage.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start with what we're calling the big misunderstanding.
Right.
This is the belief that almost every language learner has. I certainly had it. It's the idea that if I learn more words, I will speak better English.
Yeah.
It seems so rational, right? More tools should mean better work.
It seems logical, but it's based on a flawed idea.
Yeah.
It treats language like you're collecting things.
Yeah.
Like the more coins you have, the richer you are. But speaking is a performance skill. And performance is all about psychology, not about your inventory. The big shift is realizing it's not about knowing words passively.
Right.
It's about using them actively in a real, spontaneous situation.
And to use them, you need confidence first. When you only focus on vocabulary, you're treating English like it's just a school subject. You build this huge library of words.
A library you can't access.
Exactly. You can't actually check out any of the books when you need them in a conversation.
This is why the analogy from our sources is so important, the driving analogy. I think this one detail clarifies the whole thing instantly.
Ah, yes, the driving analogy. Let's really get into this because it explains the problem so perfectly.
Okay, think of it like this. Your vocabulary, all the words, the grammar, the tenses, that's the car. It's the vehicle.
Okay.
Confidence
Yeah.
is the driver. Now, imagine a beginner who's learning to drive. What do they need most? Do they need a Ferrari? A high-performance car with all these complex features?
Of course not. No, a beginner just needs a simple car, something that works.
Precisely. The complexity of the car is irrelevant at the start. What they really need, more than anything, is courage. They need the confidence to actually get behind the wheel, turn the key, and start moving. That's confidence. If you have a Ferrari, an amazing vocabulary, but zero confidence,
That car is just sitting in the garage. It's useless.
it's completely useless for getting anywhere.
I just love that image, this huge vocabulary, polished and perfect, sitting in the garage because the driver,
Yeah,
the confidence, is just too afraid to even scratch the paint.
exactly. The car is ready, but the operator is scared. Without the driver, it's just metal and parts. But even if the driver is a beginner with a really basic car, a 500-word vocabulary, they are actually driving.
They're communicating. They're moving from A to B.
They're fluent, while the person with the Ferrari is still standing still.
Let me push back on that just for a second, because I think a listener might be thinking this. Okay, a small car is fine to start. But what if I need to have a really sophisticated conversation about, economics or philosophy? I do need the Ferrari for that, don't I? Eventually.
That's an excellent point and a really necessary clarification. The sources aren't arguing that advanced vocabulary is useless. Of course it's not.
Okay.
The argument is about the order of things, the priority. Yes, you need advanced words for advanced topics, but if you have zero confidence, you can't even explain the basics of economics using simple English.
So confidence is the foundation you have to build first. It's like learn how to drive the car and navigate traffic safely. Then you can think about upgrading to something with more horsepower.
Exactly right. Confidence is the mechanism that lets you retrieve and deliver the words. Once that's working smoothly, once you can drive,
Right.
then adding more vocabulary, a bigger car, becomes incredibly useful.
But not before.
But not before. Without the driver, more vocabulary just adds more weight, more complexity, and actually more anxiety. And shifting that focus from just collecting words to actually using them.
Right.
That's the whole game.
Okay, so let's get into the mechanics of this. If confidence is the driver, how does it physically change the car's performance? I mean, how does confidence literally change how our brain processes and delivers language?
This is where we get into the neurology of it all. It's fascinating. When we're stressed or anxious, which is really just a fear of being judged, our body goes into a low-grade fight-or-flight mode.
Right.
And that state it's catastrophic for speaking a language.
Yeah.
The brain basically starts prioritizing survival over high-level thinking.
We hear about cortisol, the stress hormone, but how does that actually stop me from finding a simple word like table?
Well, when cortisol floods your system, the emotional part of your brain, the limbic system, it gets really active.
Yeah.
And that activity actually pulls resources away from your prefrontal cortex.
Which is the thinking part.
It's the executive function center. It handles planning, complex thoughts, and crucially for us, word retrieval and sentence construction.
So your brain is basically shouting, threat, no time for grammar, we need to run.
Precisely. The words are still there in your memory, but the roads to get to them are suddenly blocked by panic. Confidence does the opposite. It sends a signal that says, everything is fine, relax.
And that brings the thinking part of the brain back online.
Back online and working optimally. And this is how confidence improves your speaking in 3 really powerful ways.
Okay, let's take them one by one. The first one is it dissolves the memory barrier.
Yes, confidence unlocks your memory. When you're relaxed, your brain can retrieve words so much faster. Think of your memory as a search engine. Anxiety is like a really, really slow internet connection.
Oh, okay.
You type in your search, and you just get that spinning wheel, that awful pause.
Yes.
That's what kills the rhythm of your speech.
The moment you feel judged, the brain just slows right down.
It does. But with confidence, the connection is fast and clear. You can access 100% of the words you know instantly. This is why someone with simple words can sound so fluent. They're using everything they have seamlessly.
While the anxious person with the huge vocabulary might only be accessing, 10% of their words?
Yeah.
Because the rest are stuck behind that panic barrier.
They know the word, but they just can't find it fast enough.
That distinction, accessing all of 500 words versus 10% of 5,000, that is a complete game changer. What about the second point, the internal grammar police?
Right. Point number 2 is that confidence stops the overthinking. Low confidence makes you calculate everything. Every sentence becomes a mental test.
Is the grammar right? Did I use the right tense? Is this the right preposition?
Yes. You're trying to check 3 things before you even say the first
I
word.
mean, that cognitive load, all those little decisions, that's what creates the ums and the ahs and the long pauses.
Confidence is like a command that cuts through all that noise. It just says, speak. Don't calculate. Trust yourself. It puts you into an automatic mode.
We already know the basic grammar. Our brain has seen it hundreds of times.
Exactly. Confidence trusts those existing pathways to work on their own instead of double-checking every single step.
It's like shifting from a manual car to an automatic. You can stop thinking about the gears, the grammar, and just focus on the road, which is the message you're trying to deliver.
That's a perfect way to put it. You stop treating it like an exam and start treating it like a conversation. And finally, number 3, confidence changes the sound of your voice, the actual delivery.
It makes your tone sound fluent no matter what words you're using.
Yes. Fluency isn't just words, it's an auditory experience. It's the pace, the rhythm, the pitch, even the pauses. A confident speaker naturally has a clearer, stronger voice and a more consistent rhythm.
Because they're not worrying about mistakes.
All their energy is going into projection and momentum. You can often hear confidence just in the volume of someone's voice.
That's so true.
When you're not anxious, you breathe properly, you support your voice, and that physical delivery is what listeners interpret as authority and fluency. You could say, I went to the store with a strong, clear voice, and it will sound so much more fluent than someone whispering, I have proceeded to the market.
Yeah, that mental barrier just crumbles when confidence is there.
It really does.
This whole idea anxiety brings us to another huge myth that keeps learners stuck. It's this idea that native speakers are constantly using really complex, fancy vocabulary.
Oh, that myth is probably the biggest source of low confidence out there. Learners create this impossibly high standard for themselves. They think they need to sound like a university professor giving a lecture.
Or a character from an old novel. And then they get into a real casual conversation and they don't hear any of those fancy words they memorize.
And they think, oh no, my English is failing. But the reality is that native speakers value clarity and speed above everything else. The goal of a conversation is to get an idea across quickly and successfully. If you actually listen to how native speakers talk to each other,
It's simple.
it's overwhelmingly simple. It's built on a core of the 2,000 or 3,000 most common words.
Let's give some really clear examples from the source material because this is so motivating. A learner might try to say something complex because it sounds sophisticated in their own language.
Right. Take the idea of being frustrated. A learner who memorized advanced words might say, I find this situation profoundly perturbing.
Which is grammatically perfect.
Perfect, but it sounds stuffy. It creates a distance. A native speaker would almost always just use the simplest phrase. They'd say, I'm annoyed, or this is frustrating,
Simple, direct. Everyone gets it.
or think about describing an event. A learner might feel they have to say, it was an exquisite experience.
While a native speaker who just wants to keep the conversation moving will say,
It was great, or that was awesome, or it was really cool. High-frequency words.
this is even true for verbs, right? Instead of saying, I will endeavor to complete this, which sounds so formal.
Like something from a history book. They rely on phrasal verbs. These are the lifeblood of everyday English. They'll just say, I'll try to get it done right away.
Phrasal verbs. Learners are often scared of those because they feel too informal. They prefer the single academic verb like investigate instead of check out.
But native speakers use them constantly. Figure out, come up with, get over it. They're not complex, but they are essential for sounding natural. If you can confidently say, I'm going to check out that new cafe, you sound way more fluent than someone who says, I intend to investigate the new culinary establishment.
So the big takeaway here is you don't need a dictionary in your brain.
You need a voice that isn't scared.
When you embrace that simplicity, you lower your own stress and your confidence shoots up because you know you can say those simple phrases perfectly.
That efficiency in language that native speakers use, that's a strength, not a weakness. It tells the learner that they already have 90% of the words they need for daily life. The problem isn't the words, it's the confidence to use them without fear.
Okay, so we've seen what confidence does. Now let's flip it. What happens when confidence is low? This is where it gets really interesting because we can actually break down the symptoms that just destroy fluency.
Yes. And if you, the listener, can recognize these symptoms in yourself, that's the very first step to fixing them. The sources give us a kind of checklist for how low confidence shows up.
And the first, most obvious symptom is about speed and volume. The speaking gets slow and the voice gets really soft.
The slow speed comes from the brain trying to check everything before it comes out. It's that overthinking we talked about. The speaker is mentally rehearsing the sentence 2 or 3 times before they actually say it.
And that delay makes them sound like they don't know what they're saying.
And the soft voice. That's a defense mechanism. It's your subconscious thinking, if I speak quietly, maybe no one will notice my mistake.
But the irony is that a soft, hesitant voice makes people doubt what you're saying, even if the idea itself is brilliant. It undermines your credibility.
Completely. The second symptom, and this one is so destructive, is that internal editor that never shuts up. The constant self-correction.
They're second-guessing every single word.
Every word, every tense. They might be about to say the word go, but then they think, wait, is proceed better? Is that more professional? Or is it too formal?
And while they're having that debate in their head, the conversation has already moved on.
Exactly. This search for perfect English is a total fluency killer because perfect English doesn't exist in a real conversation. The pressure to be flawless just guarantees you'll be silent.
Which leads to the most painful one of all. Forgetting words you definitely know.
The physiological lockup. This is when the pressure just forces that prefrontal cortex to go offline. It could be a simple word you learned 20 years ago, like spoon, but in that moment, your mind is just blank.
And that feeling is so demoralizing because you know the word.
And it reinforces the wrong belief. You think, I don't know enough English. The real thought should be, my anxiety is trapping the English I already know.
So the core problem is this huge psychological barrier, this wall that the words get stuck behind. The source is so clear on this, the English isn't stuck in your mouth.
It's stuck in your mind.
And we really have to emphasize this. If you're experiencing these things, the slow speech, the soft voice, the constant editing, it's not a vocabulary problem, it's a performance problem.
It's driven by a confidence deficit. And once you realize that you need to treat the anxiety, not just buy another dictionary, everything changes. The problem becomes manageable.
If you wait until your English is perfect before you speak, you'll be waiting forever.
That's right. The confidence has to come first, through using imperfect English.
Which brings us to, I think, the most motivating idea in this whole deep dive.
Which is that simple English spoken confidently sounds so much more fluent than advanced English spoken with fear.
Let's make this really concrete with the comparison from the source material. It's a thought experiment that just makes it all click.
Okay, we have two people. Let's call them person A and person B. Person A is the vocabulary-rich one. They have, let's say, 5,000 words in their head. They're always trying to be academically perfect.
But their delivery is just crippled by fear. They speak slowly, they hesitate, they're always searching for that perfect, sophisticated word. Their speech is choppy.
Now let's look at person B, the confidence-rich speaker. Their vocabulary is minimal, maybe 500 to 800 simple, everyday words. Their sentences are short and direct.
But the delivery, it's flawless in terms of its flow. They speak clearly, with a strong voice. They make eye contact. They're not apologizing for their simple words.
Now, if you are the listener in that conversation, and you need information quickly, who do you think is the more fluent, more capable communicator?
It's always person B. It's not even close.
Always. Person A might use more advanced words, but the pauses, the hesitation, the soft voice, it just undermines everything. It signals that they're struggling.
Right.
Person B gets the idea across with speed and with authority. They might use the word good 10 times, but the message is delivered. There's no friction. Person B owns the conversation.
While person A is sort of mentally apologizing for even being in it.
Exactly. And this forces us to completely redefine what fluency even means. We have to throw out the old academic definition.
So what's the new equation?
The new equation is this. Fluency equals confidence plus clarity. It does not equal vocabulary plus grammar.
That is so liberating.
It is. Fluency is about performance and perception, and that's driven by your psychological state, not just how many words you know.
So the goal changes. It's not this huge, impossible task of mastering 10,000 words.
The goal becomes something immediate and manageable. Can I say the words I already know clearly and without hesitation?
Once you realize that, 80% of communication is just delivery and tone, and only 20% is the complexity of the words? You see why working on confidence is the fastest way to get there.
Simple English, spoken with confidence, is powerful English.
Okay, so we've analyzed the problem from every angle. The big question now is, what do we do? For the listener who gets the theory and is now asking, how do I start building this confidence today?
Right. We're moving from theory to practice. Our source material gives 5 very specific, very actionable exercises. And these aren't about learning more words. They're about activating the words you already have.
Let's start with the first one. It's called the 60-second instant speaking challenge.
The idea is simple, but it's very effective. You pick a really simple topic, something like what I had for breakfast or my plans for the weekend.
Low stakes.
Very low stakes. And the task is to talk about that topic for 1 full minute nonstop.
But the rules are the important part, right?
The rules are everything. The number 1 rule is you are not allowed to stop to fix grammar. You cannot stop to search for a word. If you get stuck, you have to use another word or just move on.
So the goal is just forward momentum.
Purely, you are training your brain to prioritize flow over perfection. It's about building rhythm. And every time you successfully complete 1 minute, you're teaching your brain that speaking is about moving forward, not being flawless. It's tough at first, but it's the fastest way to break that habit of self-correction.
Okay, number 2 seems to build on that. It's speak in simple sentences.
Yes. This is about choosing to succeed. For a while, when you're practicing, you intentionally rely on the most basic sentence structures. Subject, verb, object. I like this book. He went to the market. My day was good.
So you're avoiding all the complex grammar that causes the anxiety in the first place.
Exactly. Confidence is built on small wins. Every time you say a simple, clean sentence successfully, your confidence grows a little bit. You're lowering the mental stress to almost zero, which frees up all your brain power to focus on your tone and your clarity.
Right. Not on grammar calculation. Okay, number 3 is more of a physical trick, but it has a huge psychological impact. Use your voice with energy.
Yes. The specific tip here is to consciously try to speak about 10% louder than you normally would.
10% louder.
It sounds simple, but it creates an instant feeling of confidence both for you and the listener. When you speak louder, you have to stand up straighter. You have to breathe deeper. Your own brain interprets that physical act of projection as a sign of certainty.
It's hard to mumble and hesitate if you're trying to speak loudly.
It is. It creates this positive feedback loop.
Yeah.
You speak louder, so you sound confident. Hearing yourself sound confident makes you feel more confident. That feeling reduces the anxiety, which then makes it easier to find your words.
Okay, number 4 tackles the discomfort people feel just seeing themselves speak English. Eye contact plus English practice?
The exercise is to speak English for 1 minute a day while looking at yourself directly in a mirror, maintaining eye contact.
Why is that so important?
It's deeply psychological. For a lot of learners, the act of speaking English is tied to a feeling of being judged or feeling awkward. Your brain needs to break that connection.
It needs to normalize the act of yourself, speaking English.
Precisely. The mirror is the safest possible environment. You're getting your brain comfortable with the sight and sound of your own face making these English sounds. You're building a positive association.
And that's about retraining your identity, which connects directly to the 5th and final exercise, positive self-talk.
This one goes beyond just behavior and gets to your core beliefs. The idea is to intentionally override that negative inner voice every single morning. You repeat affirmations with conviction. Things like, I can speak English. My English is getting better every day.
Or my goal is clear communication, not perfection.
Yes, because if you're always telling yourself, I'm bad at English, your brain will believe it and your actions will follow. The moment you change that internal story to, I am an English speaker, even a beginner one, you start to act in line with that new, more powerful identity.
Identity drives behavior.
Always. If you believe you're a communicator, you'll take the risk of communicating. And that action is what builds real, lasting confidence.
Okay, we have covered so much ground here. From the neurology of anxiety to these really practical daily exercises, let's bring it all together. What is the one single guiding rule for a learner who wants to become fluent fast?
It all comes down to what we can call the golden rule of fluency. It's the one sentence every learner should write down and remember every day.
And that is?
It's better to speak simple English confidently than speak advanced English fearfully.
That one rule just gives you permission to succeed right now with the tools you already have. It makes simple language a strength, not a weakness.
It really does, and it highlights the difference between two things. Vocabulary gives you options, more ways to say something, but confidence gives you freedom, the freedom to actually use the options you have without hesitating. A learner with tons of vocabulary but no confidence is actually trapped by all those options.
They're frozen, trying to pick the best word.
While the confident person, with their simple word bank, has the freedom to just choose flow and clarity. And we are urging you, the listener, to choose that flow. Choose freedom.
True fluency doesn't come from that struggle to remember difficult words.
It comes from the boldness to use the simple words you already know, quickly and clearly.
And vocabulary takes years to build, slowly, one word at a time. But confidence.
Confidence can grow instantly.
It just takes one decision.
One decision you can make today. I will speak, even if I am not perfect. Confidence is not something you wait for. It's something you create through action. And when you do that, fluency it follows.
Fantastic takeaway. Remember, confidence is the driver, not the car. So just get behind the wheel.
Focus on using simple words boldly. That's the fastest way to be understood, to sound fluent, and to build the skill you need to get to the next level.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the psychology of fluency. We really hope this gives you a new perspective and empowers you to speak up with clarity and conviction.
And if you found this deep dive helpful, please do take a moment to like this discussion, subscribe for more deep dives that challenge the old rules, and share this with anyone you know who's trying to find their voice in English.
Your recommendation really does help us reach more people who need this message. We'll see you next time for our next deep dive.